Hello, my amazing English 111 students, summer 2019, Johnston Community College. We are week 4. Can you believe it already? Week 4, yeah, we're zipping. All right, so this week we are doing compare contrast. So last week we were doing the narrative stuff. This week we're doing compare contrast, which is your next paper. So what you're going to do is you get to read in the textbook about compare contrast. Yeah, and then there is a story. Kind of a very interesting story that talks about, that uses an example of compare contrast, Beauty and the Beast. It's kind of a fun read. Okay, yeah. Other thing you get to do right away is the narrative paper. Yes, so we last week you had a chance to do a first draft, submit it to the discussion board. You got your peer reviews, and now you're going to submit the final draft. Okay, so to collect or submit the final draft, you're going to click here, the rubric. So if you're like, how do I get graded on this? If you click on View Rubric, it shows you exactly what you need to do to get graded. So you can read through this at your leisure. Okay, but what you're going to do is this, for this one, you have to upload the file. You're going to browse computer, and you have to click on I agree to submit my, you have to click on there and hit browse computer and then upload the file. You have to do it that way because what happens is that this goes through a plagiarism checker to make sure that you did not copy and paste your paper from somewhere else, that you actually wrote this paper. If you've plagiarized, if you have copied and pasted stuff directly from the internet and did not cite it correctly, that is plagiarism. You will get a 0 on the paper, and nobody wants that. Boo, so sad. So do not do that. Okay. And then you hit submit when you actually are ready to submit your paper. Yeah, so that's for the narrative paper. So let's go back to the rest of what's going on for this week. Okay, so there's the narrative paper right there. Once we get the narrative stuff out of our head, then we get to watch the video on compare contrast. Woohoo! So compare contrast, that is the next thing we're going to be doing. And there is a quiz. We know how to take quizzes. And then there's portfolio. In this portfolio, reflect back on what you learned about your writing style when it came to creating the different drafts of the narration paper. So when you did a first draft, you wrote your paper, and then you wrote it a certain way, and then you got feedback from your classmates, and you're like, oh, you know what, I write the way that I talk, or I need to make sure that I'm using proper grammar, or whatever. Okay, so you're going to reflect back on that. Okay. And then we actually get to the compare contrast paper. Woohoo! The next paper. What? Another paper? Yeah, well, it's because that's what happens when we have a short class. So for the compare contrast paper, let's go ahead and download that bad boy. Let that get going here. So for this one, you are going to use a compare contrast approach to show that one thing is better than another. Okay, the two items should be similar. For this particular one, no research is needed. It can be based on your opinion. Okay, students may use personal experiences as proof. Again, 2 to 5 pages in MLA formatting, and these are the things that you're going to be looking at doing. And if you're like, what? Once you watch the video on compare and contrast, this will make a lot more sense. So don't worry about that, but that's just the details on that particular paper. Oops, that one's from last week. And then for portfolio 6, you get to use this one to create an outline for a compare contrast paper, what you're writing about. So if we look up here, what needs to be done? Okay, well, we get to submit your final draft of the narration paper by the 13th. Okay, take the quiz on compare contrast by the 13th. Portfolio 5 by the 13th. Okay, post your first draft of the compare contrast paper. Kind of seeing a theme here. So you go to the discussion board, and just like we did last week with the narrative paper, we're going to do with compare contrast paper. If you peek ahead, you'll see the other 2 papers we're going to be doing. All right, so same thing. Upload this one, and you're like, well, what are you going to do? Well, based on the rubric. So what? So if you remember back, let's go back to week 5 here, or week 4 rather. So if you click on the narrative paper here, and you see where it says the rubric, that's what you're going to be graded on. Okay, so for next week, when you give feedback, if you actually go to week 5, go down here to week 5, and you click on where you would upload your final draft, that's where you can find the rubric. So like, so when you have to give feedback to somebody, this is what you can use. Did they follow this? What stuff do they need to fix so they can get a better grade on their paper? Pretty cool. All right, let's go back to week 4, because that's where we're at. That's how we roll. Okay, and so that's what's going on this week. So again, the way this is designed, you just kind of go. through the order here. And again, for this one, you post your first draft of the comparative contrast paper by the 13th, and then you have to review other students' papers by the 17th. And again, that's found on the discussion board. So that's it for week 4. Keep on plugging away. Keep on, make sure you don't wait to the last minute. And remember, don't plagiarize, because you're better than that. All right, there you go.